Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today, I will explain the gear system, from gear sets, gear stats, enchantments, and how to build your champion. First, let's discuss the gear sets and stats, and what does it do. First is the gear sets. Gear sets gives bonus attributes and increases your stats. But take note, you need to equip a specific number of gears to activate the bonus stat. Different gear sets have different requirements, and yes, the effect stacks. For example, if the gear set only requires 2 gear pieces to be equipped, you can use all 6 gear slots with the same set effect to activate the bonus effect. For example, first gear is health. It gives a bonus 20% health when you equip 2 pieces of health gear. If you equip 4 pieces of health gear, it will give you 40% bonus health. If you equip 6, you will get 60%. This set effect is really good for tank or support champions like the High Priestess, Titanic Warden, and Holy Paladin. It will help them tank damage much better. Next is the critical gear set. This set gives a bonus of 15% critical rate when you equip 2 pieces of the critical gears, which is really good for attacker champions. It will boost your crit rate and hence gives you more chance to land critical hits. Next is defense. It gives you a bonus of 20% defense when you equip 2 pieces of defense gear. This is a good set effect for tanks and supports, which increases their total defense and make them tank better. Next is annihilation. This set effect gives a bonus of 40% critical damage increase if you equip 4 pieces of annihilation gear. This will boost the critical damage of your attacker champions like Dread Knight, Sword Dancer, and Fearless Gladiator, which really helps when fighting high HP bosses. Next is Swift. It gives you a bonus of 25% speed when you equip 4 pieces of the Swift gear. The Swift set effect is really good for champions that inflict buffs and debuffs like Rebellious Joker, Steadfast Protector, and Royal Phantom. Next is Counter. It gives you a 30% chance to counter-attack when attacked. This set effect activates this bonus stat when you equip 4 pieces of counter gears. This is really good for champions that has high damage or inflict debuffs, like Knight Commander, Dragon Conqueror, and Labyrinth Guardian, and is also good for healer-type champions like Oni Shaman and High Priestess. Next is Effectiveness. It gives you a bonus of 20% increase in effectiveness when you equip 2 pieces of effectiveness gear. This gear set is really good for champions who can inflict debuffs like Rebellious Joker, Inferno Demon, and Noble Huntress. I will explain what this gear stat does later on the video, because I will also explain what each stat do, so stay tuned. And the last stat effect is Attack. This gives a 45% increase in attack if you equip 4 pieces of attack gear. This is really good for champions that has a high base attack stat. It will increase your damage and is really good for attacker champions like Lethal Kunoichi, Beast General, and Deadeye Outlaw. Alright, now I will explain what each gear stat does. But first, I will explain some terminologies here. First is, what is base stat? Base stat is the stat of your champion that is not influenced by any gear. Basically, the original stat of your champion. Next is the flat stats. This is a fixed amount given by your gear. This will be added to your base stat when computing for the percent stat. Next is the percent stat. These are the stats that increase your stats based on your base stat plus your flat stats. The higher your base and flat stats are, the bigger value this percent stat will be. Alright, let's discuss the stats. First is health. It increases your health by a flat amount. Next is health percent. It increases your health based on your base health plus flat health stat. The bigger your base and flat stats are, the bigger value this percent stat becomes. Next is attack. It increases your attack by a flat amount. Next is attack percent. It increases your attack based on your base attack plus flat attack stats. Next is defense. It increases your defense by a flat amount. Next is defense percent. it increases your defense based on your base defense plus flat defense stats. Next is speed. This stat is the basis on who is gonna go first and how frequent your champion can attack. The higher your speed, the better you can buff, debuff, or attack your enemy before they do. Next is the critical rate percent. This stat is the basis on the rate you can land a critical hit. 100% is the max value for this stat. It would be useless to go above it. You are guaranteed to land a critical hit once you reach 100% crit rate, unless you are using a champion that has a weaker element against your enemy. There will be a chance for you to land a weak attack instead. Next is critical damage percent. This stat multiplies your total attack and inflict damage based on the value of your critical damage percent. This is really good for offensive type champions. Next is resistance. This stat will help your champion resist debuffs. The higher this stat is, the better chance your champion can resist a debuff. So if you want to avoid getting stunned, burned, sleep, etc., better increase your resistance for a higher chance to resist debuffs. And lastly is effectiveness. This stat increases your chance of inflicting a debuff against your enemy. Here is the formula. 100% plus caster's effectiveness minus target's resistance with a max value of 85%. So, having too much effectiveness would be pointless, because there is still a 15% chance to not land a debuff no matter how high your effectiveness is. Now I will explain to you what main and substats are. Main stat is the stat that is unchangeable on your gear. That stat is fixed. When you upgrade your gear, it is guaranteed that that stat will also increase. Meanwhile, the substats can be changed in value. When you enchant your gears, it randomly adds value to your existing substats. Or when your gear is below 5 stars, it will add a random substat. Now, I will explain to you what the gear star system is. As you have seen, different gears have different star levels ranging from 1 to 5 stars. This indicates how many innate substats your gear has. For example, a 1-star gear only has a main stat, with no substats. A 2-star gear has a main stat and 1 substat. A 3-star gear has 1 main stat and 2 substats. A 4-star gear has 1 main stat and 3 substats. And for a 5-star gear, it has 1 main stat and 4 substats. Now let's move on to equipment enchant. As I have discussed earlier, different star gears have different number of stats. This is where enchant comes. When you enchant an equipment below 5 stars, you will get an additional stat. But the max number of substats you can get from the equipment is only 4. For example, I will enchant this 1-star sword. As you can see, the number of substats is increasing until we have 4 substats. But look at the 5th enchant, which is the max enchant in this game. It will just upgrade a stat to the existing 4 substats. Same goes when you upgrade a 2-star, 3-star, and 4-star equipment. I will show you an example in upgrading a 4-star equipment. As you can see, it only has 3 substats. When I upgrade it once, it will have a total of 4 substats. But the more I upgrade it, it will only give additional value to the existing substats. So if you want to get the maximum value of stats, it is better to upgrade a 5-star gear, because it will not waste points in adding an additional stat, but instead it will randomly increase the value of the 4 existing substats. And finally, I will give you a quick tip on how to build your champions. As you can see, champions have different classes like warrior, tank, support, mage, thief, and ranger. Based on these champions, you will have a general idea on what type of gear to add to your champions. For tank champions, you will need health and defense gear sets. For offensive champions like mage, ranger, and thief, you will need the annihilation, attack, or critical gear sets. But some champions have a tank role, but his skills are suitable for support. Just like the steadfast protector, he has a tank role, but his skill 3 provides an attack increase buff, which can also make him as a support champion. Support champions aren't necessarily healers. They can also be champions that can provide buffs and debuffs. That's why the Steadfast Protector champion needs to build a Swift set instead of using Health set or Defense set, because it needs to cast its attack increase buff before your offensive champions attack. Try to mess around with different builds. This advice is just for general builds. Some champion skills have different synergies, so try to explore different ways to build champions. That is the fun part. And that's it for this guide. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.